Okay, so let's put this into perspective, okay? Okay, there are two drastically different worldviews, okay? Because people like binaries, so let's use a binary. Okay, there's the worldview of the one who observes and occasionally complains because the observations suck. And then there's the worldview of the crazy person who thinks that their word is some kind of divine law and everything's spellcasting. So, as you will have noticed, the sky is green. Canu's declared it green. Canu refers to the physical body being acting as some kind of character that or vessel that has been carrying beans up the river Styx. Anyway, for quite some time, it's really annoying. We've declared that the sky is green many times, and yet it's to no avail. Okay, some kind of event needs to happen, some kind of trigger, a cause, if you will, to make the sky appear green. So simply declaring something so is obviously not the truth, and this is where the magical spellcaster type mentality falls apart. They think their word or the word is what creates, and they got that logical fallacy from the Bible, which starts off with an idea of logos or the word of God creating things. So in that respect, biblical cultures have damaged the minds of Machiavellian characters in some cases to be deluded into thinking that words are the source of creation. As you would know from the glossolalia tactic associated with what they call the light language people, that's not the case. They're not using words at all. They're using mumbling, gibberish. Right. Okay. Now, that particular behavior does have a consequence. So when you talk, there are air particles moving in and out of your mouth. And because the air particles are moving, some of those atoms might have electrons that are jumping orbit, and subsequently the photovoltaic effect applies. And so, yes, in that respect, language can be associated with light. Okay? However, spirits not being light is a different matter because they do operate at different speeds, yada yada yada. Light's supposed to be a universal constant. Until physics proves otherwise, that's what we've got to work with. Okay, so light language, okay, is just the photovoltaic effect in action. The language isn't even there. Okay, if you perceived coming through the video to your head some kind of color or energy or whatever, okay, put it in the comments, okay? So, let's look at the difference between a spellcasting worldview and an observation worldview. In an observation worldview, you, the observer on the other side of the video screen, using your own phone presumably, just saw a person making weird noises. Or perhaps you experienced some kind of event in your mental planes or whatever you call it, okay? If you experience an event in your mental planes, comment below. Okay. If not, that's okay too. Comment below. Okay? Genuinely interested in seeing what you experienced. Okay. Green. See, the syllable for green doesn't have mental plane's perception at this vantage point of the colour green. Okay? Does it at yours? Purple! Not experiencing purple. Experiencing some kind of spiraling effect or something spinning around. There appears to be a yellow, red, and white. There appears to be more than one being there. They appear to be in a state of confusion and disarray. They're definitely not the self. So the stars in the Bodhi tree idea applies. Okay, there appears to be some kind of technical thing. Okay, so let's try this again. Okay. Why would you assume that the word creates? Okay, when the job of the word is to describe. Okay, words came later, not first. Okay, words came later, not first. So the words didn't create the world, they described them. So vibration, that's another way, sound, okay, is that what they're talking about? Okay, let's dissect that esoteric worldview for a second. Okay, vibration and sound. Okay, vibration is associated with an object in motion. It's not necessarily the case that all objects in motion produce vibration. Perhaps objects in motion through air. So now, why is it required through air? Is it not the case that you feel a vibration a little bit if maybe a train goes on train tracks and the ground starts to grumble? Okay, and then you're sitting on your chair or something like that in a distant location. It's like, oh, the windows are shaking. Oh. Okay, it's not because the train's moving through the air; it's actually moving on the ground. Well, the answer is that yes, the ground vibrates, and so does the air particles. So it's kind of both. But hang on, we don't understand. Objects in motion. Hang on, wait. Which one's the object? The ground or the air? Well, it's probably the compounds and atoms. Okay, that's what they'd like to talk about in the sciences. So. Okay, are they moving through air or are they moving through space? Is more the question. Air is different from space. Air is made up of different types of particles. So nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, so on and so forth. Okay, right. And space is supposed to be that which is between the atoms or the particles. Okay, the absence of something, the vacuum or the void, if you will. So, when particles or objects move through a vacuum or a void, do they vibrate? Or do they require a medium to travel through for some kind of a relativity effect to occur where they start sort of going like that? In either case, the world has to exist for anything to vibrate at all, which means sound or vibration didn't create the world. Vibration was a consequence of the world's activities. And so that in esoteric standpoint still sounds ridiculous. Sound and vibration did not create the world. The world created sound and vibration. So, this raises the question of the dragons of the underworld, which are, by the way, not the Draco Empire, and they're not vampires that eat children either. Are they creations of the world or creators of the world? Let's ask a question. Okay, what are dragons? Okay, they hunt sheep and kill people, and it's a joy to kill the last one. Oh, okay then. Alright then. Let's ask China. Okay, what are dragons? Creator beings associated with a pantheon of mythological characters. Some dragons are cool and some are not. Okay then. Right. And so that's the New Age movement. The Draco Empire is a class of reptilian shapeshifter from outer space whose objective is to eat children. They're strongly associated with the Vatican and anyone who's not a Nordic alien. Okay, let's ask a different way of looking at things. What's a dragon again? A spiritually evolved pterodactyl. Okay. What's another way of looking at dragon? Dragons are responsible for the great sound. Someone once said that. Okay, they were responsible for the great sound in the underworld. Dragons are responsible for the great sound in the underworld. Really? The underworld's a noisy place, is it? And dragons are responsible for the great sound. See, that's a completely different way of looking at things. What's another perspective of dragons? That they were secondary creations of the kernels that came out of the Big Bang. One was sound and one was light. Okay. So in all cases, dragons come later, not first. They're not actually creator beings unless you're talking about Chinese mythology. Correct. Okay. Right. Does the New Age movement at this point realize that there are greater opinions than what they have? Like the world actually has a drastically different set of opinions. Does Europe acknowledge and America acknowledge that their opinions on dragons are not shared? There's actually a drastically huge number of possibilities, opinions on dragons, and none of them involve eating children or saying the only aliens that resemble humans are white people. No offense to white people. Okay. Also, there's no pretense on whether or not dragons are good or evil either. No. They could be completely neutral. Right. Okay, and the idea of dragon could be completely abstract as well. Like it might not actually be an evolved pterodactyl. It could just be like some byproduct of the Big Bang. Another idea. Right. Okay. Okay. So at this point, we'd like to congratulate the Nordics on YouTube who were psychically imprinted using the blue crystal grid with a story that this physical body wrote in 2009 and published in 2011 on Scribd called The Official Cult of the Divine Goddess of Insurrection, Auntie Fred Astaire, Almighty Mistress of Bullshit. Those that tried to claim that the dragons were associated with the Big Bang or the kernels that came out like that were actually quoting that story. He was not written by a Nordic, a person from the Norse religion. It was actually written by an atheist who was making a practical joke. So, congratulations, world. You've been pwned so badly it's not even funny, and so has his body by the internet. Fuck you, Elon, and fuck you, Queensland.